Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. I am the Crucial Crew member, and this is Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing great. I know this month I've actually been off and on doing this podcast. Just kind of a crazy month. Health-wise, been getting kind of up and down, either allergies or whatever. I still got something going on, really congested, but it's been 2 weeks and I really needed to go live. And I hope my voice stays the entire time, because I just realized I'm only talking for like 30 seconds and my voice is already starting to kind of crack. So hopefully that lasts. And hopefully we can get through this episode. And maybe we'll have some visitors join in and say hello, because it's been a while since I've seen anybody. By the way, me, the Crucial Crew member, I do something on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, which is at the Crucial Crew member, every day, usually Thursday through Monday, I go live. We do a little segment called Not Long Ago in This Galaxy, and we talk about something in Star Wars history, which is usually how we start this podcast off. We talk about something that happened in Star Wars history. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about a little film that had some major announcement back in 2014, and we're going to talk about Star Wars Celebration, because we're still excited about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars Celebration, and a little fun fact that kind of ties into the Phantom Menace and their 25th anniversary, which we just officially technically celebrated just this past week on May the 19th. So we'll talk about some things that have come out of that official celebration. So we'll dive into the Phantom Menace a little bit. We'll touch base on the Tales of the Empire again, because that's still fresh. That is the last bit of new Star Wars content that we've had come out on Disney Plus. And then, of course, we got some new stuff that is coming pretty soon. For one, we got the Acolyte that's coming out on June 4th. So we will talk a little bit about that, as well as something else in the novel format for the High Republic, tying into the Acolyte. Still that High Republic phase. So again, welcome. Thank you for watching this live. If you're watching this later, if you're streaming this later, again, 10 o'clock Wednesday evenings is when I do this live. So it's always fun to have people join in. That way we can get some opinions on what's going on with what's getting released with Star Wars. So exciting. Now again, going back to also at the end of the segment, depending on time, I did pick up a couple more sabers, legacy sabers. So if anybody joins in and wants me to show those off, I will show those. They're actually right over here, sitting right next to me. The 4 hilts that I have, so yeah, we might open those up and talk about those a little bit, and then also we might do a crucial character pick either this week or next week. No, you let me know if you join in. Let me know if you want me to do that crucial character pick tonight or not. Should I? It'll be from the Clone Wars. It's who I think is the most important character of the Clone Wars series overall. The most important character of the Clone Wars series overall. So we'll talk about that if so desired. So we'll see. When people join in, actually I should like do some sort of a poll, but I don't have the polls set up. But you know what? Let me just do this. I'm gonna type in, if anybody does join in, should I show off my new legacy sabers that my English is not my strong suit. acquired recently. So we'll do that. And then also we'll do, should I do my crucial character pick from the Clone Wars animated? I don't think I spelled that right. No, I probably didn't spell that right. Again, my English is not that great. Animated series tonight. So those are going to be the two questions. If anybody joins in, you can answer those two questions and let me know. Let me know if you want me to show off my Legacy Sabers that I recently acquired, and should I do my crucial character pick from the Clone Wars animated series tonight. By the way, it's National Craft Distillery Day. So I'm doing a gin martini in my CSL goblet tonight. Very dirty, very dry, very dirty. That's the way I like my gin martinis. But it is with St. Augustine Distillery Gin. St. Augustine is in Florida. It is local. Kind of about 2 hours drive from me, but a fantastic, fantastic gin. So, Tabuite to St. Augustine Distillery and their amazing gin. And here's to Star Wars. Here's to the announcement of a very fantastic bit of piece of news that happened today in 2014. So this is not long ago in this galaxy, May the 22nd, 2014. As you can see the pictures up there, so you may have already figured this out. That is Gareth Edwards and Gary Whitta, left to right, and even though deceiving Darth Vader, even though I don't even think the Darth Vader scene was really originally supposed to be, and I don't think Gareth Edwards really had anything to do with that, honestly. I think that was Tony Gilroy that, and the pickup and kind of the rewrites had put that in, if I'm not mistaken, because we know that Tony Gilroy came in at the end and did some changing to the story in the end, which is why the preview, the trailer, had some different content or different looks to how the story was going to go on Scarif. With the plans being held on the beach in the trailer, if you remember that. But today, not long ago in this galaxy, May 22nd, 2014, Gareth Edwards and Gary Whitta were announced as being the director and screenwriter, respectively, for a Star Wars standalone film that was set to be released December 16th, 2016. Did it actually get released December 16th? 2016. I was going to look that up to see if that was the actual date of the release. Yeah, it did. December 16th, 2016. I didn't know if it was like dropped back a little bit. I knew it was December because I remember that was the year that I moved here to Florida. That was my first year here. So new Star Wars content, or new Star Wars movie, a brand new whole, spin-off movie, which was great. Here in Florida, and I got to see that while I was here. So that was the first time I ever saw a movie opening here in Florida. So Rogue One, I think my brother was actually down here that week with his family. We ended up going, I think, one night to go see it over by Universal Studios. So yeah, Rogue One, Star Wars story, released December 16th and 2016. And today in 2014, it was announced that Mr. Gareth Edwards was going to be the director. Gary Whitta was going to be the screenwriter. And we didn't know anything about it. We just knew that this was the first time a Star Wars standalone movie outside of the Skywalker saga, kind of, but not really, because it was tied in. I consider it still part of the Skywalker saga because Leia's in there. She's a Skywalker. And it really did tie into the whole story. Vader's in there, so you have Anakin. it gels in so well with A New Hope. It has to be part of that Skywalker saga. So, and what a great movie it is. Some it's their favorite movie of all time as far as Star Wars. It is way high up there on my list. Probably, I mean, definitely in my top 5. Definitely in my top 5 of Star Wars movies. Does it break a top 3 for me? I don't think so. I don't think it breaks a top 3 for me. But it's definitely in my top 5. So, but what a fantastic film. A little bit outside of the box. No Jedi, really. Maybe Force sensitive people, if you think about it. But Disney also at this time had kind of begun development on what they had said multiple standalone films that would offer new stories beyond the core saga. Of course, we only got one other film, that being Solo, Star Wars story, and then everything kind of fizzled out. And unfortunately, it kind of sucks that like one movie basically curtailed everything. And I don't know if it was really Solo and what happened with Solo that kind of pushed it to the everything to the wayside. I think COVID had a lot to do with it as well. But I think there was some nervousness after what happened with Solo, A Star Wars Story. But I think most of the films have kind of turned into other projects because, we were supposed to get a Boba Fett film and we got a Boba Fett series. Was it anywhere near what it was going to be with the original film? Doubtful. I think there was a completely different direction. But we also got The Mandalorian. I mean, how great was that? I think there was supposed to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi film. We got an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I think that would have done better as a film. I think you can kind of tell that maybe that story possibly was going to be told in the same way, but more condensed. And I think they had to stretch it a little bit for a series. But Obi-Wan Kenobi was great. And we were supposed to get some other films again, and they've been scrapped, and it would be great to see those come to light. I mean, Rogue Squadron, that would be a really cool movie to see. I'm okay with that one being scrapped because I think I understand why. I don't think it was going to be what we wanted it to be. So I'm hoping that if that ever gets made, it's at least what I want it to be, which is Top Gun in space, honestly. And I don't think that's what it was going to be. And I think that's what everybody expects. And hopefully that'll be the case. Hopefully we'll get another Star Wars film at some point. Standalone. I mean, we are going to get some standalone movies, but I don't think it's anything that's like what we were going to get. Because we're going to get Mandalorian and Grogu, which I don't know how I feel about that one. The new Jedi Order one, which that's kind of carrying on the legacy of the next Jedi, kind of carrying on the Skywalker story in a way, because Rey is kind of like an adoptive Skywalker. I think, the Mandoverse movie as well, that's going to kind of culminate everything together with like Thrawn and all that, I'm guessing at some point. That one, again, it's not really a standalone that's taking from the series. I think really the biggest standalone movie that we're going to get at some point that I'm really looking forward to next is the Dawn of the Force, really. The James Mangold film is the one I'm really excited about whenever that starts production. That's the one that I'm just most looking forward to, honestly, with any standalone project with Star Wars. But for now, we got stuff going on. We got some great stuff coming to Disney Plus, and really looking forward to that in just a couple weeks. Just a couple weeks, it's going to be happening. So yeah, Rogue One. I'm actually watching that right now. It's so great. What a great movie. But let's talk about Star Wars Celebration, shall we? Again, Star Wars Celebration, the week of May the 4th. Celebration Japan tickets went on sale. There are tickets still available. So if you're on the fence and you're just kind of hesitant on making that decision, you got a little bit of time, I guess, maybe. I mean, there's no 3-day passes left. And there's one of the days is sold out as well. I don't remember which day, but one of the days is sold out as well. So, but there's 2 single-day passes that are still available. So you could still go. You could still go. You could go. You could hang out with me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to Japan. Star Wars Celebration, Japan 2025. Can't wait for that. But going back, didn't know if everybody realized this, but we know it's the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary, but it's also the 25th anniversary of Star Wars Celebration, which honestly, it kind of just gets me a little bit. You know what would have been really great? 25 years is a big milestone. Wouldn't it have been really cool to have a Star Wars Celebration go back to Denver this year? Wouldn't that have been awesome? I've been to Colorado. I love Colorado. I would have loved to have gone to Colorado and revisited the birthplace of Star Wars Celebration. And for those of you that really don't know anything about Star Wars Celebration, Star Wars Celebration had a lot of hiccups in the beginning. And it really wasn't supposed to end up being what it is today. It kind of wasn't. I mean, it was kind of an experimental convention. It was really just supposed to be a one-off for kind of, we were getting rebirth of Star Wars movies. There was a lot of people excited about new Star Wars movies. We thought that George Lucas was not going to make these prequels and sequels, and then he comes back around and he decides that he wants to go ahead and move forward and go back and tell these stories in the beginning in episodes 1, 2, and 3. How Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. So we were getting this movie, The Phantom Menace, and there was so much excitement because there was a lot of dark times with Star Wars. There wasn't much going on. Those of us that lived through it, we know it. We just did not have Star Wars content. And for this new movie, The Phantom Menace, it was just generating so much excitement that why not put together a fan convention? Something that's kind of put together by the fans for the fans. And this is what it was. And it was only supposed to be a one-time thing, just to kind of generate that excitement, kick off this new generation of Star Wars fans. Steve Sansweet, which we know, Rancho Obi-Wan, at the time, he was the head of fan relations for Lucasfilm. And he wanted to do this convention. And it was kind of an idea that was thrown out there that it was just going to be a one-of-a-kind event, like I said, but in 5 different cities, all in the same weekend, which was pretty much deemed impossible. He kind of said it was going to be tough to do, which was his way of saying that's going to be impossible. And eventually, that was not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. So they were going to put it in at least one city. Dan Madsen, who was another person who was crucial in this development of Star Wars Celebration. Dan Madsen was the head of the official Star Wars fan club at the time. And Dan Madsen, on a little side note of a cameo, he has a cameo in The Phantom Menace in the end. If you can see him, I forget the name of the creature, but he's actually kind of, whatever those people are called that kind of lead the animals if somebody's riding them. So he was actually that character that did that, and so you can see him at the end. On a side note, was a lifelong resident of Denver, Colorado, which ended up being where it was held. So it was decided that Denver, Colorado was going to be the place for this fan event, Denver, Colorado. Now, by the time they decided on this, the convention center in Denver was already booked for the weekend that they were going to do it, because they wanted it to be before the Phantom Menace. So kind of leading up, displaying and kind of launching the Phantom Menace. You can tell that from the poster, obviously. But the convention center was already booked, so they had to find another place. And they decided on Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum, which used to be an Air Force base in Denver, Colorado, and now is a museum. And one of the big things that they had there was they brought out from California a life-size X-Wing fighter to be displayed, that was one of the biggest draws of the convention, was that life-size. I mean, now think about all the props and things that we get to see at Star Wars Celebration. There wasn't much of that then. There wasn't much 501st presence, not a lot of cosplay. It just wasn't as big as what it is today. But this was the beginnings. This was the first of it. So a life-size X-Wing. They only had 2 stages. I mean, now think about all the stages that we have, all the rooms, the minor stages. I mean, now we have like 3 or 4 main stages. And then we have all these little side rooms with all these panels. So much that we can see and hear about Star Wars pretty much all day long on these stages. But there was only 2 main stages, one being hosted by Anthony Daniels, the main stage. And getting this all together just took so much work. 10 days before the celebration was going to basically start, a tragedy happened not 10 miles away from the location of the Star Wars Celebration, and that was the Columbine shooting. So what a tragic event that happened, like right before this big event that was going to take place with all these people. And it was debated whether or not this was going to be canceled. In fact, Lucasfilm actually decided, really, that it was going to cancel it. They had decided that they were going to cancel it. But really, Dan Madsen, who, again, being from Denver, Colorado, and just the fans that were local, the fans that were coming, Dan Madsen felt that the city really needed something to focus other than this tragic event, something to help them move forward past this grieving that was happening. And let's do something just to celebrate such a great story that brings about hope. And what a great way to be able to help the community move forward, but to have this celebration of Star Wars. And not to forget about the events that happened, they decided to hold a fundraiser for the families of the victims of Columbine, and they were able to raise a substantial amount of money for the families of the victims, which was great. All those donation boxes that were placed, and the guests that came donated to that cause, which was an amazing way to show their support for that, in helping them to move forward with that tragic event. But that wasn't the only thing that almost stopped Star Wars Celebration from ever hitting the ground. The weather was another thing. And doesn't weather always have some sort of story in new Star Wars projects just not working out well? The Phantom Menace itself, in its filming, along with the original Star Wars film in Tunisia, both times had storms that wreaked havoc on the sets. And this was no different. Denver, Colorado, the weekend of Celebration saw one of the worst rainstorms in over 100 years, which brought about flooding to the tents areas, just muddy ground, puddles of water, leaks in the tents, because they used tents because they didn't have enough space. But still, the fans showed up, and the guests were there. They had a great time. Some craziness happened. I mean, Ahmad Best rapping on stage, Ray Park breakdancing. The people loved it. The fans loved it. And this ended up launching Star Wars Celebration to continue, which we still have going to this day. So what a great way to start it off, celebrating 25 years of Star Wars Celebration. And we're going to Japan next year with this. This is just so amazing. I was not there at the beginning. I've met a couple people that were there at the beginning, and they remember it and they tell the stories. I would have loved to have been there, but too young at the time, and not enough friends or family that love Star Wars enough to want to go to a convention. And Star Wars Celebration has kind of gotten me into the convention circuit. Not much yet, but I'm getting there. I've gone to MegaCon a couple times here locally. I'm going to my first Dragon Con this year. So it's getting me into this convention circuit. And the convention circuit is so much fun. It's so much fun to be with fans that just have similarities and love for that type of entertainment and culture, which it's just great. It's so much fun to hang out. So, by the way, the Air and Space Museum there in Denver, Colorado, still has that X-Wing. That X-Wing was donated to the Air and Space Museum. And it's one of the major draws of people that go there. It's one of the biggest hits. Apparently, Harrison Ford has signed it, not from Star Wars Celebration, but from a later appearance, being there for a different event, signed the X-Wing. So, which is kind of funny because Han Solo never flew in an X-Wing in the movies. So yeah, pretty interesting little bit of history. So if you're ever in Denver, Colorado, and you want to see a full-size X-Wing, and you've never been to a celebration, you can head to that Air and Space Museum and see a full-size X-Wing. So that is a little bit of Star Wars Celebration. If you've never been to a Star Wars Celebration, by the way, highly encourage it. If it comes anywhere near your city, I would do it that way. Honestly, I think if I would have traveled for my first one, I think there would have just been too much stress and pressure. I honestly feel that your first one, and I hate to say this because I know some people that are going to be watching this later, their first one is going to be in Japan. But they're going to have a great time because I'm going to be there. So I'm going to help them navigate as best as I can. But I feel that like your first one really should be local, or don't travel anywhere that you wouldn't normally travel to. Orlando was my first one. We had just moved down here, so I knew we were moving here, so I bought tickets to go. Now, immediately I knew that this was something as a Star Wars fan that I wanted to go to forever, whenever, wherever. So I began traveling. Chicago the next one, Anaheim the next one, which got me on board with my wife going with me, which was great because she ended up loving it. So that took us to London, which was amazing. And now we're going to Japan together. So we're traveling the world together. This is just outstanding. She's not as big as a Star Wars fan as I am, but it's so great to share that passion with family and be able to see the world, which is really cool. So, but if you're any bit of a Star Wars fan, you got to get to a Star Wars Celebration. There's so much to do. You're not going to get it all done, but you just got to relax about it, and you just got to enjoy it. Enjoy the time there with fans. The reason that's got to be your reason to go, is just to be with the fans, because it's such a great community to hang with. So, and just now there's just so much to do afterwards. There's after parties, all sorts of fun stuff to do. Star Wars Celebration, you got to do it. You got to do it at some point. And if you're going to Japan, let me know. Love to hang out. We're going to have some fun in Japan. I can't wait. If you've ever been to Japan before too, hit me up. Let me know. Let me know some stuff to do around Tokyo. Because I'm new to that culture over there, new to that area, never been there before, can't wait, always wanted to go, so looking forward to it. Star Wars Celebration. Let's talk a little bit about Tales of the Empire for a minute. So I've been rewatching it again, and at first, a couple weeks ago when I reviewed it, I was saying how the Morgan Elsbeth part of the story was my favorite. And to this I'm still kind of saying yes, it is my favorite part of the story. My favorite storyline. I just think it was put together a little bit better. It ties more into the Tales of the Empire part of the story, at least with her character, because she is more Empire rooted. The other part of the story tells a different side of the Empire and its effect on other characters, and I've grown into liking the Barriss Offee part of the story better, at least with her character development. So the Barriss Offee growth in her character, there's just so much depth to what was going on with her. I mean, we knew in the Clone Wars when she basically turned her back on the Jedi Order. There's been so many stories with Dooku and others and Ahsoka that realized that the Jedi Order was flawed. At that point in time, they couldn't see the corruption. They were kind of just there, and they really didn't have much to do with the protection of what was going on in the galaxy. Things were happening under their noses, and they didn't realize it. They couldn't sense it anymore. The dark side had already taken hold, and they became complacent, which caused that to happen. I would love to kind of see how that gradually led up to that, and maybe we'll start to see that in the Acolyte. Maybe that series will kind of dive into where it all started, where the Jedi Order, the Jedi Council, what have you, has started to kind of almost close their minds off of what was going on in the galaxy, to get to the point where we are in the Phantom Menace. Maybe it took that long for that to happen, and I think Tales of the Empire with the Barriss Offee, like those characters, that realized that were that focused on realizing that the Jedi were not what they were meant to be. The Jedi had kind of lost their way, which really kind of goes into the fact that we don't really know the true Jedi. We unless you're reading the High Republic and the books, you're not really going to understand the true nature of the Jedi Order, what they were really supposed to be like. And until we get like a series, and I think we're going to get that a little bit with the Acolyte, of really what the Jedi Order is supposed to be like, what the true nature of the Jedi should be. And you get that with only a couple characters, like Ahsoka. Really, Ahsoka is, honestly, she's the epitome of a true Jedi to me. But Barriss Offee kind of got it too, but just her actions went about it in a different way. But she did follow her heart, of what she felt was right or wrong. And even though her actions made some of the wrong choices, which led her to where she was in Tales of the Empire, but her heart was still in the right way. And we saw that from the very beginning of her story arc in Tales of the Empire. We saw that Barriss's heart was in the right place. Her choices were made for the right reasons. And she was very committed to her ideals. And eventually, when it came about through her story, especially when you get to that second episode in the end there, she kind of found that balance of what she wanted, what her intentions were, and how her actions should assist in that intent. And so I just really love that character development on her part, kind of coming back towards the true Jedi nature, which is something that we haven't explored enough of. We don't really know what the true nature of the Jedi are, because they've already lost their way by the time we meet them in the Phantom Menace. And we get them back a little bit at the very end in Rise of Skywalker. But again, a lot of those characters are very uneducated. Rey, Kylo, they don't know anything about the Order. They've never been taught. So it's a lot of self-discovery at that point. But I can't wait to see the High Republic in action, the Acolyte, really get to see the true nature of the Jedi, what they were capable of, their part in the galaxy. But I think already at that point in time in the Acolyte, they're already starting to go down, which is why we're getting this story that kind of starts off a path that gets us to the Phantom Menace, I believe. A very early path. But speaking of the Phantom Menace, again, 25 years of the Phantom Menace, and we're still getting a lot of content coming out, especially on StarWars.com, going back and discovering some of the amazing making of the Phantom Menace. And there's been some web series, articles, and interviews that have taken us down some parts of the Phantom Menace and how it was made, which has been outstanding, by the way. So the Phantom Menace officially had its 25th anniversary May the 19th. So just a few days ago, just some days ago, and which unfortunately was the same day as the announcement of the closing of Star Cruiser, Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. If you're a Star Cruiser fan, that was on the same day, which I didn't realize. So I'm never going to forget the announcement day of the closing of Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser now, because I did not realize that it was May 19th, which is the same day as the anniversary of the Phantom Menace. But Phantom Menace, 25 years as of May the 19th. So now we are over 25 years old. But there's been some really amazing articles. The first one that was dropped on StarWars.com was with John Knoll. And John Knoll was the visual effects, was involved with the visual effects of Star Wars The Phantom Menace. And some amazing things with the visual effects of The Phantom Menace. Three things were mentioned in the article that really were outstanding, that kind of broke barriers with visual effects. The first one was the pod race, because the pod race, and who doesn't love the pod race? This is one of the best parts of the Phantom Menace, right? And this has been talked about a lot in the web series, which the pod race was outstanding, but visually just so amazing. And what really was amazing about it is because they really didn't know how to simulate these pods that were going 500 miles per hour, because they couldn't use technology that they would normally have done with a chase scene, like a car scene or another speeder chase scene or something like that. Because they really wanted to simulate that these pods were going 500 miles per hour, they couldn't use things like helicopter plates, because helicopters only go like 150 miles per hour or something like that. They couldn't use models with matte paintings and things, because it's very two-dimensional. So they really had to rely on CG and photorealistic CG renderings of the terrain. So building models, photographing them in different angles, different light, so that they can digitally recreate them and then simulate these pods going through this terrain. And it turned out amazing. That scene is outstanding. And it just looks so real that it's definitely one of my favorite parts of the Phantom Menace, is that pod race scene. And we'll talk even more why it's my favorite with one of the other segments that came up as well. But as far as also with visual effects, C-3PO was another bit of challenge that, again, was state of the art at the time, because they had to come up with things to do to create the non-plated C-3PO, the naked C-3PO, in a way, and how are they going to do that? Him not being finished, because they couldn't put a person inside, because he had to have his circuits and things like that. They really couldn't do a suit. They wanted to do something a little bit different. So instead, they made a full-size puppet. And in order to kind of act out the puppet, they did this Japanese style puppetry, which is called bunraku, I think, which is the Japanese puppetry where basically the performer would get into a black suit and be in front of a black curtain, and then they would perform the character, so you wouldn't really be able to see the puppeteer in the background. So that idea was put into C-3PO, and instead it was green screen, bodysuits to kind of digitally take away the puppeteer, and you'd have the C-3PO puppet in the front there that would stay on screen. This had never really been done before. Well, I mean, besides the Japanese style, but never really done in film in the way that it was for the Phantom Menace. And it's still being used in Star Wars. They used it in The Mandalorian. I'm guessing with IG-11, with Grogu, would be one of the examples of that. And then the other visual effects was Theed on Naboo, Theed City, the city of Theed, which this city, which was amazing, that was not an actual place, except for some of the scenes were shot in Italy. But that was all a model. It was a huge miniature model that they built, and the photographs are just amazing that you can see online on StarWars.com. But just having that model as being able to recreate those scenes and film those scenes with was just fantastic with those visual effects. And John Knoll was a big part of all that. A great interview with him on StarWars.com about the visual effects of Star Wars, which you can check out now on StarWars.com. Another series article that was on StarWars.com for the 25th anniversary went through a look at the animation with Rob Coleman. Rob Coleman went into a lot of talk about Jar Jar Binks, which we love to hate him. Some of us, I've grown to love Jar Jar. I really didn't have too much of a problem with him in the beginning, but Jar Jar Binks, everything that they had to do to create that character was different than what had been done before. So lots of the mocap suit, which really was not a thing. It was very, very new to the movie industry, and this kind of helped launch that. I mean, look at all the films that we now see using mocap, and Jar Jar was one of the first that really brought it to a blockbuster budget film. And some people will harp on the fact that it didn't look right. Remember, this is the first time really that this was used in a big budget blockbuster film. And if it wasn't for Star Wars doing that, that's one thing that Star Wars is about, is breaking ground. Industrial Light and Magic, bringing new technology to the fore, and using Star Wars to do that. And it still continues to do that to this day. And if it wasn't for Star Wars doing these things in the past, we wouldn't be where we are today. So Jar Jar Binks, definitely a groundbreaking piece of CG animation that really changed the way movies were made. The digital armies, that was another very complex CG animation that had never been done before. In fact, the grass battle on Naboo, they didn't even really have the technology to do that. They had to figure out how to do it and what it would look like. They had no idea. They had to look at films to figure out what armies looked like, to kind of recreate this computer generated. And the the scene where the Gungan army marches out to war took over 6 months of research and development just to figure out how to do it. Just to figure out how to do it. It took 6 months to be able to do that. And now they could probably do it in the blink of an eye. I mean, probably not that fast, but still, they had to figure this technology out. Rob Coleman, animation for Lucasfilm, Industrial Light and Magic. Great article on the animation as well. Highly recommend reading that also. I mean, come on, Jar Jar Binks. Look at him. He looks so real. Looks so great. We love Jar Jar Binks. Curious as to what your favorite character is of the Phantom Menace. I think I know my favorite character. Probably that would be Padme Amidala. Honestly, Padme was great. I was a big Natalie Portman fan too when the Phantom Menace came out. So, and I think Padme was a really strong. Really took the idea of a strong female lead character like Princess Leia and just made her stronger. And Natalie Portman did such a great job portraying a character that really took her responsibilities seriously as a queen, just getting down and dirty, disguising herself as a handmaiden to be able to go into the trenches really in these situations, and really showing that she could handle whatever life throws at her, and doing that so amazingly. So Padme Amidala, definitely my favorite character of the Phantom Menace. But Jar Jar was outstanding, right? Oh, there we go. That's the one I wanted to do. And then another web series that was on there was with Gary Rydstrom. Gary Rydstrom was involved with sound mixing for the Phantom Menace, and man, the sound. Again, going back to the pod race scene. Oh, by the way, Gary Rydstrom, this was his first outing with a Star Wars film, unless you count Spaceballs and or Star Tours, because he was involved with the sound with both of those. But the Phantom Menace, first time with an actual Star Wars film. And some of the highlights of the sound of Star Wars that he talks about, the pod race scene. I mean, come on, the pod race scene. The beginning of that pod race scene when they start their engines reminds me of a drag race. When those hot rods like just revving their engines. I love that part, and just cranking that up. The sound is just amazing. And then as soon as that just takes off, the engines are just, it just sounds so great. If you have surround sound, that is like one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars to just have cranked up in your living room or wherever you watch the movies. That pod race scene, the sound is fantastic. So what an amazing piece of the films that is. The other big bit of sound that I love is, again, the battle in the finale on Naboo. The Boombas, the kind of like the hollowness that they just make the sounds. I don't know. It's just it's one of those sounds that just like every time you hear it, it sounds so good. And then also when the droid army opens fire on the Gungan shields and they just like ping off, like that sound as well. I love that part of the sound, but it's just so amazing. So Gary Rydstrom, an amazing article with that as well. And then the final article that has been just really, I think this one was just released today, actually. I read this one this morning, was the Ben Burtt interview article. Ben Burtt has been with Star Wars since the very beginning with George Lucas, so he really understands almost more than anybody else the way to tell a story the way George Lucas intends it. And what a great person to be with George, with getting this Dude trilogy off and being a part of sound design and picture editing. Ben Burtt was, and really understanding George Lucas's vision and understanding that music is so important as well as any sound, and knowing the balance of that. Just watching certain scenes, and you almost can't even tell when the music starts to come in and when you're just hearing special effects sound. And the blend of that works so perfectly. And I think that's one of the best things about Star Wars films is how well John Williams' score or whatever music is used in the films blends in so nicely that you almost can't even tell when it comes in and when it comes out, but it's perfect. You know it's perfect. And I think it was done very well in the Phantom Menace. With scenes like the pod race, with scenes like the Gungan battle, with scenes like Duel of the Fates, all of that done so well. Ben Burtt, and he was the creator of some of the most iconic sounds of Star Wars from the very beginning. So another great article to read on StarWars.com in highlight of the 25th anniversary. And now let's go to some new things that are coming out. We got a new book coming out soon, The High Republic: Temptation of the Force. It's the sequel to Eye of Darkness with High Republic Phase 3. We get the first excerpt from the first chapter of the novel that you can read on StarWars.com right now if you're interested and you can't wait and you want to just know a little bit about what's going on, which is of Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann at the Jedi Temple. Yeah, you can head over there and read that excerpt. The novel, if you don't want to wait, or if you don't want to read it and you want to wait, comes out June 11th, just a week after the Acolyte that comes out. And the Acolyte, again, coming out June the 4th. Very, very amazing. We're getting all sorts of shorts that have been coming out lately. Something that was pretty cool to see that was dropped was Amanda Stenberg, who is an accomplished musician, which I didn't realize. I know she's a huge Star Wars fan. I didn't know she was a musician. She's a violinist, and she got to perform a little teeny tiny little piece that John Williams wrote just for her, a little piece, and she performed it, and it's online. You can see that online. And it's pretty cool to be able to see her do that. And what an amazing. So she plays May, and in the Acolyte, and that comes June the 4th. We're almost there, but again, some TV spots have come out. The last one that I saw, I think it's called Evolve, the TV spot, making me rethink her character a little bit there. Don't know if she's actually, maybe being set up or what's going on. So, yeah, it's getting intense. I can't wait for the Acolyte. It's just these TV spots are just making me just want more and more and more. And I hope everybody else is excited as I am about the Acolyte, because I've been really excited about this series. I think this is the series that I've been most excited about since the announcement of all these Disney Plus series. Ever since the beginning when they announced this, I've been super excited about this series. So can't wait for the Acolyte to be coming out. Got a couple minutes left. What should I do? Should I show off some of my legacy sabers that I acquired? Should I do a crucial character? You know what? Let me show off at least one. So we had a cast sale event, and I got to grab a couple more legacy sabers. So one of the ones that I got was the Ezra Bridger saber, the second one. So this is the one that eventually goes to Sabine. So this is the saber. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this. I think I need to switch my camera. Switch my camera a little bit. I think I'm only going to show this saber, by the way. Hope there's the congestion. But yeah, this is the Ezra Bridger saber. With the the connector on it, so it comes with two different connectors. And this is one that doesn't lock in, it just hangs. So you know that you have the lightsaber clips that you can like slide and lock in, and then you have the ones that hang in the same clip. So this is one that hangs. To turn it on and off, it's just a switch up and down. Yeah, so if you want to use the actual saber though, so you got to switch it out. So it has a whole different mechanism. So it won't actually turn on and off because the switch, the battery pack is not actually in there. So if you want to do that, because it's so narrow here, you actually have to unscrew this whole piece comes off. This whole piece comes off. And then you put this actually slides in. And then you have the saber like that. I'm going to go ahead and throw in. That's only locked in very well. There we go. It's locked in. And then it is a green saber. You can't tell with with my light, but it is a green saber. But knocking stuff off my wall. Sounds really cool though. I have not ignited it yet, so it sounds really cool. But that is one of my new sabers. I'll show another one maybe next week. So, the Ezra Bridges saber, got it for a nice discount, which is great. It's great to be a cast member here at Disney. Sometimes when you get to acquire stuff like this. So, but the Ezra Bridges saber, so happy that I was able to get that one. And that's going to be it for tonight. So thank you for watching. If you're watching this later, hopefully we're going to do this again next week. I'm going to try to keep doing this every week again and hopefully not get sick so that I can keep doing this. I might be heading over to Epcot next week, next Tuesday. And yeah, maybe even Magic Kingdom a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But again, catch me on Instagram, The Crucial Crew Member. I go live doing not long ago In This Galaxy, where we talk a little bit about Star Wars history. By the way, another thing that happened today in history is Attack of the Clones was released on DVD. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, until next time, remember, do something Star Wars, watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, do something Star Wars, and most importantly, remember, may the stars light your way. Have a great rest of your week. Please subscribe, please like. I'll see you next time.